It's a pleasure to see so many of you here this morning because our speaker today is Carey Holtzman, a long-time favourite presenter and a true PC guru. Carey has been running his own computer repair, sales and upgrade business out of Glendale since 1995, almost 25 years now. I think Carey's mind is actually part computer, because he's been in the computer business for so long, for so many years. He doesn't need a script, he doesn't need to rehearse, he doesn't need to memorize anything that he talks to us about, and he loves getting questions from the audience. Please, can you all think of one question that you can ask him? So while you're sitting here, please think about that, and we can all learn then from the answers. He truly enjoys sharing his unique experience and knowledge of computers and electronics with others in a fun and entertaining way. For 6 years, he was also co-host of a nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers, and he's also an author, having written a book called The Healthy PC, which is still available. And this is a quote from the website Better World Books. If you've had a hard time understanding computer guides, you will love this book's clear and accessible approach. And I believe you'll be very interested to know that Carey has a huge following on YouTube with over 210,000 subscribers from all over the nation and abroad. We're really honored to have him join us today. Let's give him a huge welcome.
Thank you, Malia. That was makes me feel old now. I did all that? Did I do all that? Wow. Well, okay. I'd rather she said, listen, he's just a guy from around the block. He does some computer stuff. Don't set your expectations too high and you'll leave impressed. Well, what she did, she said how wonderful I am, and she sort of raised that bar, so I'm gonna have to work a little harder today. All right. My name is Carey Holtzman. How many of you have seen me here before? Wonderful. How many of you are seeing me for the first time? How many of you have only seen me online? Well, we gotta fix that. Are my shoes bright enough? Can you see? All right, good. I want to start this off. I would have never thought that I would be starting this presentation off with a recent personal and very traumatic experience that occurred because of the internet. And so for a moment, I'm going to get real serious, and then I'm going to lighten it up after. I got to get it off my chest. As I've grown in popularity online, I've become a punching bag, a public punching bag from random people who just have nothing else better to do. And while I was live streaming with 1,000 people watching around the world, somebody thought it would be clever to call 911 and say they were me and that I just shot my wife with a shotgun. So while I'm broadcasting live, I'm hearing sirens outside my house, and there are 15 police cars with officers with weapons drawn and a helicopter approaching my house. And I explained to the officers very calmly, hey man, it's good, it's just a prank. Oh, no, they weren't having it. I've got to take this seriously. I said, well, you might have to, but I don't, because I'm the only person who knows what's going on right now. You've been pranked. And they just wouldn't listen. And it was a very frustrating experience for me to go, you know, if the caller said they were me, here I am. If the caller said that they were me and I shot my wife, here she is. Oh no, they have to go into my house now with their weapons drawn, and Lord only knows what my dog's gonna do. I have the same kind of dog the police use, and I have it for the same reason. And they've never been in a situation where somebody has intruded or invaded my home. I'd like to think they would protect their territory instinctively. Thankfully, they didn't. And I can't look them in the eye anymore. You'll see up on the screen, there's cameras were rolling. I tried to warn them. I said, look, just so you know, there's a camera rolling in the house with 1,000 people watching live. And instead of saying, hey, thank you for that information, we'll take that under consideration as we proceed, they ridiculed me. Well, I never heard of you. I didn't say, do you know who I am? I didn't say, I'm famous. I never said that. I never said I was famous. I'm telling you, when you enter my house, you're going to be walking onto a hot stage in front of 1,000 people. Are you sure you really want to do that? He sees the camera. That's one of several cameras around my house. This quality is a little bit low because that's a security camera. This can happen to any of you. There's nothing that prevents somebody from using a virtual private network with voice over IP to make an internet telephone call. This person spoofed caller ID to appear to be my phone number. Four days later, they did it again. Now, I will tell you that the second time, the police response was very different. So the second time, the police response was a knock at the door, 3 officers. They were very polite. They asked, they said, we were told there was a bomb. Would you like us to come in and check? My wife said, no, we're fine. Have a nice day. We're good. 6 or 7 days after that, they did it again. So I hear my dogs are going crazy, so I know something's going on outside. The brigade is getting smaller and smaller. It went from 15 squad cars to 3. Now we're down to 2. 2 gentlemen show up. Weapons are holstered, which is good. I mean, having weapons drawn, on all the eyes are on you. Wow. And you're like explaining, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Oh, yeah. They're hyped up, their adrenaline hyped up, they're ready for a shooter. I don't know, you're telling the truth. What do you want me to do? You know, when you're done and you see everything I'm telling you is true, will you apologize to me? No. Oh, I guess you have some protocol or rule that prevents you from being polite. My apology, I didn't understand. It's upsetting because I support the police. I do. And so the third time, I see him coming in the walkway, I open the door, I go, are we doing this again? He says, they say you murdered some kids. Okay, so I've murdered my wife, got a bomb, and I murdered some kids. How many times are we going to do this? If it's a 911 call, we have to come out. We don't know. I go, we set something up where if you call 911 from my house, you got to have a password. And if you don't have the password, 911 ain't coming. He goes, no, that's not how we were told it's going to work. This has been going on for 10 years. And this is all new to the Glendale Police Department. All new. They've never had it happen. So I was the first one. And he says, no, we call you, and then you give us a password and we'll break off, come to your house. I'm like, well, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but my phone is off, it's late at night, my wife is asleep, so I guess I gotta turn my ringer on. And sure enough, the next day, some moron on Facebook sends me a FaceTime request or whatever, instant message request, which rings the phone at 11 o'clock at night, right next to the bed where my wife is sleeping, and she's upset. What this hacker also did is they hacked into my Twitter account, which I don't really care about because there's nothing financial in my Twitter account. But they were saying some pretty nasty things that appeared to be coming from me. And they also did a process called dox binning. So what dox binning is, dox binning usually happens to celebrities, so I think I'm moving up, right? I mean, I'm starting to get... So dox binning is when you take somebody's private information, address, phone number, email addresses, any passwords that were used at websites that were hacked, like Equifax and Yahoo. They grabbed all those passwords for the accounts that were associated to me, not through me dropping the ball here. This is Equifax and Yahoo and Home Depot and anybody else I had an account with who had a security exploit where you see it on the news all the time. Well, this is what happens, this is what can happen with that information. They took that information and somebody, I wish I could find an employee this good. They compiled all that information into a little database and they uploaded it to the dark web where it can never be altered or removed. Now, I don't hide from anybody. If you want to look for my address or my phone number, I want you to find me. This is how I get business. I'm not afraid of anybody. bullied very terribly in high school, and surviving that has made me the jerk I am today. And so, you know, that just kind of, it's a little disturbing to see how easily that was done. This hacker didn't exhibit any creativity or originality. This is the same kind of hack that's been going on for years and years and years. It's just never happened to me before. As I said, I think maybe it's a sign I'm getting more popular. But to me, the measuring line for me of when I know I'm getting popular is when you mistype my name into Google and it directs you to a pornographic website. See, that hasn't happened yet, so I still have a ways to go. That's all I'm saying. I'm not there yet. So what can you do to prevent it? I mean, that's really the question, what you can do to prevent it. Well, first of all, you don't want to use the same password on numerous sites, because if one of those sites got hacked, they have your login and they have your password to that one site. And if you use that same email address and password at other sites, guess what? This is why they tell you you should use different passwords for different sites. And for that, I use a password manager called RoboForm. So RoboForm is available, and by the way, it's not the only choice, it's just what I use. RoboForm is about, I don't know, what is it, $20 a year or something like that. They had a Black Friday special, 5 years for like $77. I took them up on it. I'm good for a while. This has one master password, and it will log in for you. So if I want to go to eBay or PayPal or any of these other sites, I just, instead of going to my bookmarks, I go to my RoboForm bookmarks or logins. And it will not only take me to the site, it will enter my user ID, it'll enter some big, long, complicated password, which can be randomly generated by RoboForm, and then it submits it, and you know, I don't have to do anything, it just automatically happens. But since this event, I have turned on a feature that you all might want to consider, and it's called two-factor authentication. That means they need two ways to verify you're you. Your password is no longer enough. So when I enter my password now for anything financial, or even my Gmail account, which is tied to my YouTube account, which I'm using to generate revenue, if they get into my YouTube account and delete my YouTube videos, or redirect my YouTube funds, it'd be like somebody hacking into your pension account, redirecting, how are you gonna live? So what two-factor authentication does is I sign in with my username and password as usual, and it says, all right, we're sending a text to your phone that you have on file with us right now with a code, a 6-digit code, and you have 5 minutes to put that 6-digit code in right now. So if you try to log in as me with my username and password, my phone's gonna beep, so I've got the date and the time of when you tried to do it. And you're not gonna get any further than that, unless you also took my phone. But my phone is also password protected, another good idea. With these new phones now, you can just use your fingerprint and it will unlock the phone. You don't have to push anything or swipe anything. This is new for me. Last time, I've had a flip phone forever, if you guys have been watching me. And I finally succumbed, surrendered. People would come up to me all the time. You're still using a flip phone? What do you care? What, do you work for commission on Verizon? What do you care? This is what it sounds like to me. You still use your brain to think? Don't you know if you had one of these, it'll do all your thinking for you? God, you're an idiot. That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway, so I got one, I love it, and they could pry it from my cold dead hands. And I knew that would happen. I knew if I got one, I would not know how to live without it. So I was putting it off as long as possible, and it's wonderful to have a camera with you at all times. If you stop and think about how many things this replaces, can you think about how many things in your life this replaces? Do you remember cameras? Do you remember you used to have to buy a different kind of camera if you wanted to make movies? You had to have two different kinds of cameras, one for still photos and one for movies. Gone. Remember GPS? Gone. Remember taxis? On the way out. Remember maps? Can you guys think of other things? MP3 player? Sony Walkman? Here, right here. Yeah, notepad. Who needs a notepad and a pen anymore? Calculator? Wait a minute, basic, yeah. Flashlight.
Recipe book.
Yeah, recipe book.
FaceTime.
Yeah, the ability to communicate with people anywhere in the world standing in the middle of a street.
Level, not a good idea.
Yeah, home automation. I can turn the lights on in my house right now. I'm not a real big fan of home automation because it's very easily hacked. So I only automate things that are critical. So if somebody wants to hack my lights and flip them on and off, that's fine, right? But I'm not automating my door locks, but you can. It'll replace keys. It's amazing how many things this replaces. Did I mention it makes and receives phone calls? Because it seems like people have forgotten that. I don't see anybody use it for that purpose anymore. All right. So security is a pretty big deal, and it's getting worse. It's worse today than it's ever been. It'll be worse tomorrow. This is why it's very dangerous to use an older, out-of-date computer as the internet is evolving and you are not. It's leaving you as a potential risk for identity theft and all kinds of nastiness, even if you don't necessarily click on anything. Just exploits within the operating system itself. Now that being said, how many people here use Windows 7? Only a handful. Is anybody using an operating system older than Windows 7? Vista, XP? Okay. So using anything older than Windows 7 is just, you might as well just leave your windows down and your doors unlocked. Just go right ahead. They're not supported by Microsoft anymore, and there's no more updates to protect you. And your antivirus can only do so much, and eventually you're going to get a printer or a scanner or a piece of software which says, I can't install because I'm not compatible, and it'll force you eventually. You just won't be able to use the machine. Websites won't come up properly. The Windows 7 expires this January. 12 months. It's done. Over. You can upgrade for free to Windows 10 as long as your computer has enough horsepower to do it. If you're running Windows 7 right now, Microsoft doesn't advertise it, but it's still free to upgrade to Windows 10. And you should, or you should consider replacing the computer, because I will tell you, I would rather spend a few $100 on a new machine than thousands of dollars to an attorney trying to get my credit fixed for the next 2 or 3 years. And it's really just about pay a little now or pay a lot later. I consider what I do to be a community service. I'm not in this job for the money. I'm in this to help people. That's where my parents failed. I'm not buying them a new house or car anytime soon, but I sleep well at night knowing I can show people how to take back control of their computer, not be intimidated by it, and show how easy this stuff is. Because if I know this stuff, listen, I'm an idiot. If I know it, you can know it. I promise you. So what I try and do in my presentations is I try and use analogies to things we're all familiar with, and then apply that to the computer so that you can sort of get the gist of the concepts of this technology instead of letting the words get in the way. Because to me, the words, we say, you're making backups. We already have a word for that. It's called making copies. Is it important to you? Then make copies. We like to use computer terminology, but we don't just do it with computers. We, as a society, we do it with lots of things. We don't even realize we're doing it. But for some reason, when it comes to computers, people kind of put this wall up, and they're like, oh, complicated. But if I tell you I jumped in my 4x4 to hit the ATM, and I entered my PIN, and I went to the video store, assuming there was a video store, and rented a VHS to play on my VCR, on my HD TV, you're all nodding ahead and you understand what I'm saying, even though probably nobody knows what VHS actually stands for, right? So in the computer world, we like to use a lot of this technical jargon when in reality, what we're really talking about is something simple. To emphasize an example of this would be, people will sometimes come up to me and say, if I have a firewall, why do I need antivirus? Aren't they the same thing? Don't they do the same thing? And I just simply say, if you have a burglar alarm, do you still need pesticide? And they go, oh, well, how come nobody's ever explained it to me like that before? And I'm dumbfounded. I don't know why. But that's the way I wish somebody would have explained it to me, right? The burglar alarm isn't going to keep out the cockroaches, and the pesticide isn't going to keep out the burglars. It's really no more complicated than that. And so what I like to do in my presentations is I like to ask you guys what's on your mind. Instead of me coming up here and talking about what's on my mind, you may not be interested in it. So if you have any computer-related questions, I would love for you to ask them, and I'll do my best to provide you an answer.
Okay, I'm live. So let's say you have an old computer you want to get rid of. What's the best way to get rid of it and get a new one?
So that is a very common question. You know, you're not supposed to put these things in the garbage. They don't want them in the landfills. Here in Arizona, we have a charitable organization, and I'm going to go right up here to the browser. It's called AZ Strut, and that stands for Arizona Students Recycling Used Technology. So AZ Strut, because it's a charitable organization, it's not a .com but a .org. When you see that .org, that's going to be like World Wildlife Fund. You know, these legitimate charities have these .orgs. And so AZ Strut uses this old equipment, doesn't matter how old it is, and they use it for teaching high school students about computers and technology. And they'll take whatever you got, printers, laptops. And if you're worried about the data on your hard drive, they offer you 3 options for that. One is they'll take it out and give it to you. 2, they'll run it through a drill press right in front of you. Or 3, they'll just let you know, hey, we're going to wipe this. So if you believe us, we're going to wipe it and reuse it. So you have those 3 choices. They have limited hours and limited location, but it's a really good cause. It's a really good way to get rid of something you don't want. You know, one person's trash, another person's treasure. Of course, you could sell it. You can go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace if you want to deal with that nonsense. I tried selling an old TV I have. This is a sign of the times that we live in. I have an old, big, 1080 HD, 5-foot tall, 200-pound DLP TV. They don't make DLP TVs anymore. $60. Is it 4K? No, it's not 4K. It's $60. Is it a smart TV? No, it's $60. It's not a smart TV. Would you take 30? Oh my God. So I'd rather donate it. I'd rather go, you know, hey, Goodwill, you pick up a TV, it's about 200 pounds. It's frustrating that we live in such a good time economically that beggars have become choosers. If I'm offering a computer for $100, it's a used computer, it's $100. It's got Windows 10 on it already. Windows 10, if you go to buy Windows 10 at the store, is $100. I'm basically giving you the computer for the cost of Windows 10. What size power supply does it have? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. So if you want to sell it on Facebook or Craigslist, and you want to deal with that nonsense, all the power to you. And then, of course, places like Goodwill and things like that are always considerations. The only concern most people have is about their data. And for that, you can simply remove the hard drive. And if you don't know how to do it, there's probably somebody here who can help you with it. It's pretty simple in most cases. And you can choose to do what you want to with that hard drive. You could put it away and keep it as your backup. If there's stuff on there that you consider important, why not just keep it and stick it in a drawer and hope you never need it? If there's nothing on there you really care about, but you just don't feel comfortable giving it out, I still recommend take it out and put it in a drawer. And then one day when that computer's really frustrating you, take it out to your driveway with a hammer and just beat the living daylights out of it, and then throw it in the garbage. Or throw it in the recycle bin. It's very therapeutic. It's totally worth it. Are there other questions? All the way in the back? Hold on, we're going to get you the microphone so I can hear you. And thank you for the question.
What's the difference between a virus and a Trojan, and why is a Trojan so hard to get rid of? I was told that even if you have the virus protection programs, sometimes Trojans can sneak through when you're downloading something.
Yeah, it's a great question. A Trojan is a form of a virus. No antivirus software has ever existed that can protect you 100%. Volvo likes to say that they're the safest car manufacturer, but they wouldn't say that you don't have to learn how to drive if you buy one, or that you wouldn't possibly be killed or seriously hurt in a car accident. They would never say that, because it's still your responsibility as a driver behind the wheel to make smart decisions. Likewise, behind your keyboard, it's important that you make wise decisions. Certain things that are pretty commonplace knowledge, thank goodness, like don't click on links sent to you in emails. Most of us know that, especially if they claim to come from a financial institution. A Trojan, if you think back to the Trojan horse, you know, when you think back to that, it's a big horse. No, it's really a bunch of people inside. That's what they mean when they say Trojan. And so what they're trying to do is to trick you, and you are the weakest point of your security. You may have the nicest home alarm system in the world, but if I knock on your door and I say, I'm from the water company, I need to come in and test your water, and then you just let me in, that's your fault. You're the weak point. You just completely bypassed your security system because I social engineered you. And social engineering has been around for many, many years. There's a gentleman named Kevin Mitnick who used to get access to all kinds of things to big companies, claiming he was like a power man, you know, doing a power line work and claiming to be one of the workers and asking them to switch power off and on to certain cables. And he was just bored, and this is what he did for amusement. And most of the time when many hacks happen, it's because people believe something it was either a phone call or an email, and they believed it to be true. Oh, your email's been compromised, you're gonna have to reset your password, click here to do that. Don't you do that. And you know, these guys are so bold, they call you on the phone, right? You've all gotten these phone calls. What do they say? Your computer has a virus. How would they know your phone number is related to your computer? They'll say they're with the IRS. Anybody got that call? And you can pay us in iTunes gift cards. Nothing suspicious about that? They claim to be from a refund company. I got a text on my phone. I want to read it to you. Greetings, U.S. Tech Services. This is a final reminder regards the cashback of the amount of $249.99, which you have paid for network security. We tried to contact you via email and phone, but you were unavailable. That's why we are unable to initiate the refund. For more information, please call us at this number or reply with why if interested. So now they're saying, remember when you were scammed by the guy who said you had a virus? We're refunding that money. Sometimes they say they're the US government and there's a very limited time that we're giving you that money back. It's not real. It's just another scam. What was the card you used? Boom, you give them your card number, they're off and running. What do you think happens if I call this number? Anybody? No, I mean, they want to talk to me. Let's call them. Hello?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get a refund?
Who are you?
I'm supposed to get a refund? Hello?
A refund for what?
A refund?
For what?
Technical support?
What refund? No, wrong number.
So, yesterday when I called this number, I got voicemail. And it says, no one's available to take your call. Please leave your name and number, we'll call you back. They don't call you back from that number. They typically call you back from a number that if you tried to call it back, it would say it's not a valid phone number. And what you can do if you happen to be by your computer when an unfamiliar number calls, you can go right into Google and type that phone number in and see if anything shows up that you should be aware of. There's a free app on my phone that you guys can download if you have this kind of phone, smartphone. It's called Hiya, H-I-Y-A. And you're familiar with it? It's a free application, and it has, as a community, when you get a phone call that is a scam number that comes through, you can hit the block button so they can't come through anymore. They'll just go right to voicemail. It'll never ring your phone. And then you let Hiya know that they're a scammer. And when enough people do that, Hiya will automatically prevent that call from going through to your phone. It'll go right to your voicemail. These guys usually don't leave messages, and when they do, it's pretty interesting.
How do you spell that?
H-I-Y-A.
Is that an app? Is that an app?
It's a smartphone app, yes. Yeah, you can go to Google Play Store. I believe it's also on Android, Apple phones as well. It's completely free. I mean, they do try and sell you an upgrade. You don't need it, no. And you know what I do, there's also a call recording app, and I also have that on my phone. And so when I make a call or receive a call, a little microphone pops up, and if I hit that button, I can record the conversation. Arizona is a one-party state, which means if one party on a phone conversation is aware they're being recorded, the other party doesn't have to know. It's completely legal. Some people thought that was pretty scummy of me to do that, and I said, well, no, wait a minute. When I call a company, they always say this phone call may be recorded for, right, for learning purposes. So why can't I do it for the same reason? I want to play these calls back because I might have a good one and I might want to share it with my audience on YouTube and show them how the script works and what to be aware of. And you know, now that I think about it, I think I know why somebody called 911. Might have been one of those guys. They don't like it when you interfere with their thievery. But be that as it may, Hiya is not the only app that does that. There's one called No More Robo, since they're called robocalls. And all a robocall does is it cycles through a series of numbers. It doesn't matter if you're on the do not call list. They're not even in the United States. The United States laws don't apply to them. There are international laws they're breaking, but that's more for the FBI or Interpol than it is for your local police department to handle. And what they'll do is they'll cycle through, we used to call, in the 80s we called it a demon dialer. And that's where you just cycle through the whole the last four digits, 001, 002, 003, all the way through every iteration of those last four numbers. Now they'll go so far as to imitate your area code and the first three digits of your phone number to make it look like it might be somebody you know. It's all social engineering. They're trying to trick you. And it doesn't matter what antivirus you've got, and it doesn't matter what firewall you've got. This is here, folks. This is here, okay? It's free. You don't have to get any updates, pay any money. I don't want you to be afraid. I just want you to be skeptical. A nice, healthy dose of skepticism if somebody says you owe money or you've won something. Unless you're aware of the money that you owe, it's probably a scam, right? So if you owe the IRS money and then the IRS comes calling for their money, I can understand why you would entertain the call. But if you know for a fact, I don't owe the IRS any money, and as racist as it sounds, if the person on the other end of the phone has an Indian or Pakistani accent while telling you you owe money or you've won something, I will pretty much say 99.7% of the time, that's a scam call. Yes?
IRS will never phone. Will they not send you a letter?
Oh, hold on a second. Let's get a microphone so we can all hear your question.
I said, closer.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
I said they would never phone our IRS. They would send you a letter, would they not?
Oh, I'm sure they would. I mean, what do I know about the IRS? But I can tell you the IRS has never actually ever called me in my life. Only fake entities pretending to be the IRS. But I have gotten some letters, official, real letters. Yeah. And usually the way they want payment, usually some sort of urgency. We'll talk some more about this in a moment. You have a question?
Yes, do you know anything about WebRoot?
WebRoot Spy Sweeper is an anti-malware product. Once again, none of these products protect you 100%. I personally don't use it, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, if there's something on the menu I don't order, it's just, I have different taste. I use a program called Malware Bytes instead, and I'm going to go up here to malware. Malware is a computer term. It means malicious software. So that's viruses, trojans, ads, pop-ups, anything that would be considered malicious or annoying. So Malware Bytes, and it's computer bytes, B-Y-T-E-S, so M-A-L-W-A-R-E, B-Y-T-E-S.com. And it's like, I don't know, 30 bucks a year. And your computer doesn't slow down because it's running. You don't even really realize it's there. And if you try to go to some websites that it's aware of, it will block you from going there. It'll say, if you go to this site, you know, it's known for distributing viruses and malware. Do you still want to go there? You'll see there's a free version and a premium version. So the free version doesn't do anything to prevent you from getting infected. It only helps to remove the infection. The premium version runs in the background and prevents the infections in the beginning, you know, right from the beginning. But no such thing as 100% protection. It will block probably 90% of the attempts. But if something's brand new and you just happen to be unlucky enough to be one of the first people to experience it, it may not recognize anything being wrong. So it just helps. So I use Malware Bytes and I use Windows built-in Defender or Antivirus, and that's it. There's an antivirus product that is also an anti-malware product called MCSoft, E-M-S-I-S-O-F-T. Now, MCSoft is a little bit more money, but it's an all-in-one package, and if I run MCSoft, then I don't need Windows Defender and I don't need Malware Bytes. They become redundant. And this is an all-in-one piece of software. It's an antivirus, and in my opinion is leaps and bounds better than the popular big elephants of Symantec and McAfee and the ones we're all familiar with that, in my opinion, are all crap. So this, in my opinion, this is what I recommend, or the Malware Bytes with Windows Defender. Either way, that's something. Something is better than nothing. And then, of course, just making the right decisions behind the keyboard. And, you know, backups. Backups are so important. And all backups are copies. If you have photos, anything, data that you've, you know, Word documents, Excel spreadsheet, if they're important to you, you've got to make copies of them. Whether you make copies on a flash drive or you upload it to the cloud, we call the cloud. You know what the cloud is? It's somebody else's computer, right? So you get it out of your house. If your house burns down, if your house is flooded, if you're a victim of a burglary, if your backups in your computer were stolen, what good are they? So by putting those backups online or keeping them out of the building, that's a best practices if that data is that important to you. Nobody cares about your data except you. So if you can't be bothered to make a copy of it, there's a guy I got to know, he runs a service called $300 data recovery. Data recovery is usually about $1,200. And he's located in Studio City, California, which I find amusing. You can walk to Rodeo Drive from where he's at. So how can one of the cheapest data recovery services be located in one of the most expensive parts of the country? I've been down Rodeo Drive. There's no dollar store. That's all I'm saying. You'd think his location would be, I don't know, somewhere else. But $300 is cheap. That's cheap. And I tell him, I go, you shouldn't have a job. He's like, oh, I agree. He's like, yeah, if people made backups, they would never need to use my services. So how's business? He's like, I got more work than I can do. Other questions?
I have a call from the Mexican police telling me that my grandson was in their custody. I figured it was wrong because I don't have a grandson.
I'm trying to figure out who's talking.
Right over here.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I see you now. Okay, funny story. I was at a Consumer Electronics Show. And, you know, I meet up with other nerds. We kind of gather together. We're drawn to each other that way. And one of my fellow nerds has worked for an antivirus company for a number of years, and he's an older gentleman, and he got the same phone call. And here's how he described it to me. Person calls and says, "Hey, Grandpa, it's me." And he goes, "Who? Your granddaughter? Which one? Your favorite one?" Let me tell you what happened. I woke up with a bit of a cold this morning, and I took some cough syrup. And I just got pulled over for speeding, and they smell the alcohol of the cough syrup on my breath, and they're arresting me, and I need you to bail me out of jail. And I need that money now. They didn't realize who they were talking to, right? This guy runs an antivirus company, and he's just leading them on, like, oh, is that right? So, yes, if you get a call that somebody's been kidnapped or something tragic has happened, let me put you on hold for a second. Call them. Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Why? Oh, it's all right. Go back. And then my game is to try and keep them on the phone as long as possible so that they're not calling anybody else. So I just play stupid. I have a great time, by the way. I've got a video that's an hour and a half long. And, oh, my name is Steve Wilson. Steve Wilson. Is that a common name in India? No. He wants remote access to my computer. It says on my screen, if I give you remote access, only to give people I trust remote access. And I know you're from India, so I guess maybe you're Hindu. And I know Hindus believe in karma, that anything they do bad in this life will come back to them in the next life, so I know I can trust you. And I like to mess with them. I even like to get a little offensive. I'm sorry, we live in times where this is so politically incorrect, but these people just deserve it. This woman says, I need you to do this, and then she's walking me through, and I'm lying to her. I say it doesn't work. She goes, well, let me get a level 35 tech on the phone. And I said, oh, you're gonna get a man? And she goes, excuse me? I said, no, never mind. It just seems like whenever I have computer problems, it's always a man that fixes it. But you and I know that this industry is mostly male. I don't know why it is that way. She goes, just because I am female, let me reassure you that I know tech, and she's just reading me the riot act. And then she goes, now if you'll hold on, I'm gonna check with my supervisor. And I said, just one quick question before you go. She goes, yeah. I go, is that going to be a man? And she laughed. So they may not like it, but what they're doing is wrong. And then I record it and I make money from it legally, and that's my karma. That's just beautiful. I love it. So if you want to entertain them, it is absolutely the best way to get your number off the list. You should stop calling me. Oh, they'll just keep calling you. But if you waste their time, if you make them believe that you're buying everything that they're selling, and just, oh man, you'll get off their phone list so fast they will never call you again. Once you've spent and wasted enough of their time, they will take you off their call list. Yes, sir?
Yes, I use avge.com for antivirus, and I wonder what your opinion of that was.
Any free antivirus, in your case you're mentioning AVG, there's Avast, there's Avira. You get what you pay for. I personally wouldn't use it, and I don't recommend it. I don't think it's responsible to take something as serious as your identity and then entrust it to some free service. To me, you're not taking your identity seriously enough. If once you have your identity stolen, you have to go through the expense and the time to get it back, you probably will never use a free antivirus solution because you have no accountability. You can't sue them, you can't really expect anything, any liability. And that's my concern, is accountability and liability. There's a company called Viper, and I don't recommend their antivirus, but I also do. I mean, I don't use it myself, but one of the things Viper does that nobody else that I'm aware of does in this industry is if a virus gets through the Viper software and onto your system, they will remove that virus for free over the phone, or they will pay, if they can't do it over the phone, they will pay the cost for you to ship the computer to them in Florida. They'll fix it and mail it back to you all free of charge, which might be worth it for some of you. Ideally, you're best not to get the virus to begin with. So when you get those email attachments and you're curious, don't be curious. There's nothing good in there you want to see. Just delete it. You're not missing anything.
say Viper?
Yeah, it's V-I-P-R-E. Let me put it up here on the screen. And they've been around for, oh, at least 10 years or more. And they're just not, they don't have the marketing budget of some of the other antivirus manufacturers. They're moderately priced. They're pretty much all priced the same. You might want to give them a shot. They probably have a trial you can download. And I can't tell you what you're going to like, right? I have this discussion a lot. People say, well, you're the tech, so what you think matters. No, what I think doesn't matter. Just because the chef cooked the food doesn't mean that his definition of spicy and yours, or his definition of delicious and yours, are going to match. So I'm encouraging you to try these safe things. You're not going to get a virus from anything I recommend today. And you can decide for yourself if you like it or you don't for any reason whatsoever. Don't just, all I'm saying is don't just take my word for it.
What do you think about LifeLock? I hear so much about it.
Anybody here not know what LifeLock is? Okay, so LifeLock is based in Scottsdale, Arizona. Their CEO's name was Todd Davis. He used to have billboards with his social security number on them, even side of buses. My name's Todd Davis, and this is my social security number. I'm not worried because I use LifeLock. His identity's been stolen at least 11 times. And what LifeLock was doing was putting a credit freeze on your account on your behalf, which is illegal. Nobody can do that but you. So they went to court and they had to pay huge fines, but they've got big investors who put money back in and changed their tactic a little bit. And they say, we guarantee $1 million. We'll spend, you gotta listen very carefully to the words. We'll spend up to $1 million if you have an identity theft while using LifeLock. That doesn't mean you won the lottery and you're gonna get $1 million. That means they're gonna spend up to $1 million. You're not getting a penny to fix what shouldn't have happened with their service. That's all they're saying. I used to work for a radio show and the guy would tell sponsors, they'd say, how many listeners do you have? Oh, we have between 1 and 2 million listeners. You don't have between 1 million. How do you sleep at night? How can you tell a sponsor we have between 1 and 2 million listeners? We don't. He goes, yes, we do. We do have between 1 and 2 million listeners.
For those that have repeat callers, those poor souls that somehow answered a few questions and they've been targeted for repeat calls and an opportunity to get you to answer questions or give inside information on your financial position or get money out of you. I'm not so nice. I don't listen to repeat call. I don't want to listen to the ongoing diatribe from them. But I have a cure that they'll stop if it's a human on the other end of the line. You simply put your whistle down on your counter next to your telephone.
Yeah, but the phone it's not like a speaker. I mean, it is a speaker, but the volume is very limited. So it's not like, but
on the other end of the phone, when they have their ear pressed to that phone, I guarantee you, they will not be calling you back.
Hey, listen, if it works, all the power to you. Obviously, there's no sense of politeness that people should have this obligation to feel when you receive an unsolicited call from somebody. You don't have to say a word. You can hang up. You can on your smartphone. There's a button that says block this number. You all have it. You may not be aware of it, but they'll always call you from different numbers, right? So.
You can be as rude as you like. These are not going to be your future friends.
No, and they can't. In fact, you can even break the law. You can make threats, which is illegal to do over the telephone line. But what are they going to do? Sue you? I wish they would, because then they would expose who they are. Yeah, any technique, as long as you're. One of the things I like to do. Guy said you're approved for a business loan. Press 1. So I press 1. It says, yes, you're interested in a business loan. I said, yeah. And they go, what's your income? What's your monthly income? I go, it's $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Click. That didn't work. I thought it would work. I had a call. They said, it's open enrollment for health insurance. It's not real. So press 1. So I always push 1. They've wasted my time. I want to waste theirs. Sometimes I'm in the car and I push one and I put the phone on mute and I just let it sit there. Now I feel like we're even. You've wasted mine, I've wasted your time, we're good. Even Stevens. So they said, how many people are you looking to insure? I said, well, is there a limit? And they went click. I mean, maybe I got some in-laws living with me or some grandkids and I want to cover everybody. But no, they didn't even for a second. One of the good things about messing with them is that sometimes innocent victims who are unaware that they're on a scam call will ask something innocent like that, and they'll be the ones afraid that you're messing with them, and they'll end the call, ending the scam. That's why I like to encourage messing with them. I like to give them preposterous numbers. They go, congratulations, you've won, you know, you're getting a refund. I go, do me a favor, would you donate that to a charity for me? I've got so much money I can't possibly spend it. The last thing I need is more money. Or they say, there's a package from FedEx waiting for you. I go, no, I got that package. What? Yeah, I got the package. It's here. Thank you. No, this package has a check in it. No, I got the check. It's in the bank. Thank you. We're good. They don't expect that.
Sometimes when I sign into a website, I'll get a pop-up and it says something like, do you want Google to remember this password? And I always say no, but I'm wondering what's going on there.
Your browser, your internet browser, whether that's Google Chrome, which sounds like Google Chrome, although Microsoft Explorer and Edge do it as well, can offer to save your password so you don't have to keep re-entering it over and over again. But these passwords are not saved on your computer securely. So anybody who pulls the browser info sees all your passwords and logins very, very easily. Very, very easily. Furthermore, you have no idea the madness I endure, I'm not even sure I'm sane anymore. When I ask people what their email password is and they go, I don't have one. Well, then what stops people from emailing your boss and telling him he's a jerk, pretending to be you? There's a password, but you told the computer remember it, and now it's been so long you don't even know what it is anymore. But don't tell me you don't have one. That's frustrating because it happens all the time. And that's the downside, right? As long as we let this technology do stuff for us, we forget how to do it ourselves. And that's a frightening thought to me. But I would say, yeah, just tell it, no, don't ask me. Use a program, use a password manager like RoboForm I showed earlier. There's another one called LastPass, which is, I think, a little cheaper. LastPass.com. There's one called Dashlane. There's a number of them. My top two choices are LastPass and RoboForm, and you don't need more than one. And what's great about RoboForm is you can use it anywhere in the world. So you're on a cruise ship, let's say, you're in the middle of the ocean, you use the cruise ship computer to get on the internet. You don't know your login or password. You can go to RoboForm, sign in, as long as you know your RoboForm sign in and password. Then all those bookmarks show up, just like on your home computer. And it signs you in and you can do what you want to do and it's all secured. When you walk away from that public computer, there's nothing that anybody following you can pull from that. It's very secure. And you can install it on any number of devices. That one license can be installed on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your desktop. Do we have a microphone here?
Yeah. When you're answering some of the phone calls on your phone, and how do you know it's not a overseas call, like 809 or those numbers that charge you as you're talking?
There's no number that charges you as you're talking. There's no such number. That's an internet. Yeah, that doesn't exist. Like when they said, don't say yes, that nobody, has anybody here ever been a victim of identity theft because you said yes on a telephone? There was a whole thing going around on the internet that whatever you do, don't tell them yes. It's not true. They also said there were HIV-infected needles on gas pumps. Never happened. When I was growing up back in Detroit in the 70s, they said that people were putting razor blades in candy, and yet no evidence of razor blades in candy ever existed. And the only children that were harmed by Halloween candy, in almost all cases, it was by somebody who knew them, a family member or relative. And yet, this continues on the internet. People feed off of this fear, which I call false expectations appearing real, F-E-A-R. In your imagination, pat you on the back for going, hey, I didn't say yes, good for me, and you think you're doing something good when it doesn't really matter. It's all somebody's practical joke. It's like saying, did you know the word gullible is not in the dictionary? And then we wait and see how many people go to look it up, and then we laugh. This is the culture of the internet. Yes.
Is there any way to feed the data into mobile form if you manually put it all in for all your accounts? If I got 20 accounts, do I have to read into that data in mobile form?
You wouldn't enter the data in mobile form in that sense. So I've got over 100 accounts, right? So when I go to sign into someplace new, RoboForm says, do you want to save this login? I go, yes, it's done. So I still do it one more time. I sign in with my account name and password, and RoboForm goes, this is a new place. Would you like me to save this? RoboForm can also put your name and address, city, state, zip code, and even credit card number. So when you go somewhere to buy something and it wants you to fill all those forms, you just hit the RoboForm button and they all autofill. Now, I don't put my credit card number in RoboForm or my social security, but because I can type that, it only takes a minute. But my name isn't changing and my address isn't changing and my phone number is not changing, so RoboForm can autofill that for me. And then it's secure in RoboForm. It's not secure by telling the browser to do it. So I want to emphasize, the importance of that. But there is a free version of RoboForm. If you only have like a dozen websites you go to, it's free. But if you have, like me, and you've got like hundreds, it's a lifesaver. And it synchronizes all of that with RoboForm Online so that it synchronizes with any other devices you've got with that one RoboForm license. And I believe they all work pretty much the same. LastPass they're all pretty well, like comparing Fords and Chevys. They're pretty much the same price, the same features, different look, but do the same job.
I've had carbonite for several years, never had to use it. Is it worth the money?
There's some questions I can't answer, and one of those, is this good, right? Is the steak better than the chicken? You're going to have to decide that on your own. I have car insurance. I've been driving, I'm not going to impress you, but I've been driving for 34 years and I've never used it. Is that a waste of money? Get your insurance. God, you haven't had to use it. I wouldn't give up because you haven't had to use it, I keep paying the dealership to change the oil in my car every 3 months. Why do I do that? I mean, it's a perfectly good working car. I give it to them. They take it away. I don't even get to see what they're doing. I give them some money and they give me the car back and it runs exactly the same. Should I stop?
Yes.
You must work for the dealership. So there's just... But why? If the car's running fine, whatever your interval is, if it's every 3 months or it's once a year, why do it at all? The car was running fine, you took it in, and it's still running fine, and you paid some money. So the simple point of it is the only person it's going to affect is you. I mean, you can pay a little now or you can pay a lot later. And are you a gambler? Are you somebody that likes to gamble? I'm not. I run a business where other businesses rely on me to make sure their data is always secure and always available and their employees can be productive and their customers are going to get helped. And if anything fails, stuff gets real serious and I'm responsible and accountable to that. So we go through these processes and we hope a fire doesn't happen. Those people in Paradise, California never saw that coming. They never thought in a million years that would happen. And every other tragedy that you can think of. You don't really hear them talking about how much data was lost. You don't hear them talk about all the lost photographs and all the lost things that they didn't back up properly. They may have had a backup in the house. It's all destroyed. And they never thought it was going to happen until it did. The one thing that everybody who's ever lost data, they all have one thing in common, and that is none of them was expecting it. So it's good that you're expecting it. And it's good that it never arrives, and let's hope it stays that way. But if it does, you've got peace of mind and confidence that you're covered, you're good, you get your stuff back. And it's bad enough whatever tragedy occurred to cause the loss. You don't need to add on top of that. For $60 a year, Is that worth peace of mind? That's a question only you can answer. Yes?
I have a second external drive, one external drive, to my iMac, which we have stored in the back of the closet since we've come down here. We spend 6 months a year down here. And because we don't really need a desktop. However, I have my ultimate computer, my iPhone, in my hand all the time. If I connect that, can I connect that external hard drive to my iPhone, which basically replicates what is on my iMac? And use that as the backup?
I don't know a thing about Macintosh or Apple. They're locked in. The way Apple controls everything is you do everything the way they force you to do it, and if there's any problems, you have to talk to them. There's nothing open or transparent about how they run. They even try to make it illegal for you to open up and repair any of their devices. That's been through Congress a few times now, the right to repair. Apple doesn't want you to have the right to repair. John Deere doesn't want farmers repairing their tractors. Doing so would void the warranty and all this other nonsense. Because you don't have the proper education to change a spark plug, I guess. So I find Apple to be a very offensive, anti-consumer company, and I'm not the right guy to talk to about that. You'd have to talk to perhaps somebody at an Apple store or at the Genius Bar for that question. But generally, all of these smartphones back up automatically with iCloud or Google Cloud or Microsoft OneDrive. So pictures are being backed up. Generally, all your contacts, to the point where if you go buy a new phone, they don't even have to connect the phones to transfer the data. Once you sign in, all your data comes down automatically onto the new phone, all your contacts, all your settings. So having an external drive becomes unnecessary with regards to how the phone operates. Now, with regards to how do you get the stuff off of that external drive onto the phone, I have no idea. I've never in my life connected an external drive to a phone. Never tried it. But there's also a lot of things on a computer are things you create, right? So a phone and a tablet, these are consumer devices. Everything you're watching or using on your phone or a tablet was created on a PC. If you're a creator, you need a keyboard and a mouse to create. I'm not quite sure what good it would be for me to bring in my Word documents and Excel spreadsheets onto my phone. I mean, I guess I could do it, but I don't think Stephen King's writing his next novel on a phone, for me personally. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I don't know how.
You know anything about SecureSafe as a password, like your RoboForm?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, okay, we have a friend that's using that.
You know what, if you know somebody who uses something, you can always Google it and look at reviews and look what people are saying. Again, it's a little like, I would rather see you use something than use nothing, or even these days, I'd rather see you have a notepad with your passwords written down next to the computer than let the browser save it. Because at least if a hacker wants to steal them, they'll have to actually be bold enough to break into your house. These guys are cowards. They would never, first of all, they don't know where you live, but even if they did, they'd never show up at your house. They're doing everything they can behind a keyboard. So even though I don't know this product, if it comes highly recommended from somebody you trust, I would just do a little modicum of research on it, see what other people are saying, and maybe give it a shot for yourself. And if it doesn't work, don't give up. Maybe try RoboForm or LastPass until you find something that, meets your expectations and budget. Other questions? Oh, here we go.
Sometimes people ask me, my computer is really slowing down, and what's going on? And say, well, what can I do to clean up my computer to make it run faster?
Well, these days, nothing. Windows 10 does it all for you now. So all those utilities and all those things we used to do, defragmentation and temp file cleanup, Windows 10 will do all of this if you just leave it alone. I think most people who have a computer that's slowing down may be running Windows 7 in most cases. One of the simplest One of the most cost-effective things you can do if you want to improve the performance of your computer is to remove that mechanical storage hard drive, hard disk drive, and replace it with a solid-state drive where there's no moving parts. It'd be like buying a brand new computer. And these drives cost as little as, you spend $50 for a 500 gig drive. You clone, and I've got videos that walk you through the whole process. You make a clone of your current hard drive to the new solid state drive. And when the clone is complete, you have to get a screwdriver and you have to swap them out. It's 4 screws and 2 wires. Anybody can do it. And then when next time you turn on the computer, instead of taking 2 minutes to start, it takes 22 seconds. It's that big of a difference. That single one upgrade, if you don't have a solid state drive, you have no idea how fast the computer is that you're running right now that's being slowed down by the mechanical hard drive that's in it. And relatively inexpensive to do this. The videos show how easy it is. Any of you can do it. Of course, you can pay somebody to do it. I got my business cards up here. I'm happy to make some money. That's easy money. And you will be so happy, and you'll wish you would have done it long ago. And you'll never use a mechanical hard drive again, if you can avoid it. They're so archaic in how they work. We're going from basically a record, which can be scratched, it's very volatile, very susceptible to damage, to just a circuit board that I can throw across the room and it's still going to work just fine, and it's 5 times faster. And once you've experienced it, I'm telling you, there's no looking back. And that right there with your computer performance, 9 times out of 10, that fixes it. Chasing after it with software like utility software, to me doesn't make any sense. Why would I want to put more junk on to take junk off? Right? Like installing an uninstaller doesn't make sense. Installing a piece of software to take off pieces of software makes no sense to me.
I heard the other day that a guy said, if you don't trust your people that are getting into computer, go to a private cloud. How does that work?
Private cloud. Well, you can have your own cloud. You can, with many Wi-Fi routers today, have USB ports on the back, and you can take a USB hard drive and plug it in the back, and you can configure that for access through the internet, no matter where you are in the world, to gain access to your files that you put on that hard drive. But how strong is that security compared to using a service like Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive? Well, that's what they do for a living. Their security is probably better than yours. And some people they're like, look, if I'm not hosting it, I don't trust it. Like if I put my data on Google Drive and I go to Google, I go, show me which computer my data's on. They have no idea. They've got thousands of computers all over the world. It's on a few of them. In case this data center goes down, there's a copy of it over there. Well, I'm not comfortable with my data being all over there. Well, then you better just host your own, right? That's how that works. But hosting your own, I think, is very foolish. It's like being your own lawyer. I don't think, unless you are a lawyer, I don't think that's a good idea. Just because you can do it, sometimes knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Like, oh, I can do this myself. It's nowhere near as secure. And you're also assuming that your router manufacturer is keeping up to date with the firmware updates to the latest exploits and worms and things that can get into the router and get your stuff. So in my opinion, it's a lot more work and a lot more responsibility on your end than to use the same services that corporations all over the world use. Google Drive and Amazon Web Services to store their data. And if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for you. They don't host their own cloud service. Companies like APS and SRP, they don't host their own cloud services. They use things like Amazon Web Services for that. And Amazon has a whole multi-billion-dollar industry built around this. And companies' sustainability rely on it being secure and that it's working at all times. So it's good enough for them. It should be good enough for you, in my opinion. But that's a private cloud. That's you creating your own cloud. Why we call it a cloud, I don't even know why. I guess because I have to work on that. I don't know why. I'm trying to think, and I can't come up with a reason why it's called a cloud. It's just not an accurate representation of what that is. Do we have other questions? So on my YouTube channel, which I mentioned, and by the way, if something pops into your head, feel free to interrupt me. On my YouTube channel, I have all my videos are free. And the way that you can, if you want to learn more and see some of what I do, is at youtube.com. Now I don't have internet. Don't have a good signal here. And right up in YouTube search, I can just type in my name. Kind of a funny spelling, but Carey Holzman. And the first thing that appears is this symbol. That's me, that's my channel. And you'll see there's 217,000 people subscribed to me. And what that means, when you subscribe to me, is you'll get an email anytime a new video is posted, which is almost every day now. If you click on that, it brings up my YouTube channel. And here on the left side, well, here we've got build guides. Oh, I'm sorry, let me scroll down a little bit. It's showing some videos. I don't know how it decides what it's showing here, but right up here it says home, it says videos and playlists and community. So where it says videos, there are currently 700 videos to choose from. And all different tips and tricks. Many times I go live for 3 to 4 or 5 hours just interacting with my audience, which can get pretty interesting when they start to upset me. And they go on, for hours. And people from around the world watch. It's fascinating, to have that ability to talk I'm in my kitchen in my house and I'm talking to somebody in Serbia, Latvia, Ghana, Israel. I mean, it's crazy, all at the same time. Germany, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, everywhere. And there's a great sense of community there, of like-minded individuals. When somebody comes on my channel and they try trolling, they try being mean, they get kicked out immediately. So I'm trying to create a safe space on the internet. It's very difficult to do. And what my sister does is she goes and she plays back these 3 and 4 hour, marathon sessions, and she finds where I'm taking questions from the audience and she clips those out as little 2 or 3 minute clips, and then she posts them. So if somebody's like, I'm not listening to this guy for 3 or 4 hours, you gotta be crazy. You can find the quick tips, which are just 3-4 minute questions and answers that you can just sort through the library and just click on things that you think are of interest to you. I show people how to change that mechanical hard drive to that solid state drive and how easy that is and where you can buy the parts. I show how to build a computer, how to repair a computer, how to destroy a computer. That's one of my favorites. How to remove viruses, how to configure Windows, how to make sure you're secure, how to test your antivirus to see if it's doing a good job. It goes on and on and on. There's 700 videos. So if there's anything specific that you're looking for, just go right up into that search and type in the topic. So Carey Holzman space antivirus. And then that's a good way to sort through. There's a little quick best antivirus video right there in the bottom corner. It says it's 2 minutes and 46 seconds long. Can you imagine me talking for just 2 minutes and 46 seconds? That's the wonder of the internet. So anyway, it's available to all of you. It's all completely free. There's no strings attached to it. I'm simply trying to give people knowledge who have the motivation to seek it out. And I highly recommend that you don't take anything anybody says, myself included, when it comes to security or it comes to facts. If it's important to you, do your own independent little Google search and make sure that other people agree with that. Because you don't know who to trust anymore on the internet. It's very difficult. And it's a very famous quote. Never trust what you read on the internet. You know who said that? Abraham Lincoln said that. Do we have other questions? So I want to remind you, Windows 7 expires in mid-January. So you've got about 11 months to get to Windows 10. What happens if you don't? Nothing. Literally nothing. Your Windows 7 will continue to work. You just won't get any more updates. And if you're lucky, you won't get infected with something. And eventually you'll buy a printer or a scanner or something and you'll plug it into the computer. Maybe you'll buy TurboTax and it says, I'm not compatible with Windows 7. And the longer you keep it, you'll start having websites that won't appear properly. And it'll just be a huge burden. So ideally you'll replace or upgrade the computer to Windows 10 before you find yourself in that position. I know there was somebody right here who had a question. Oh, back in the back?
If we have upgraded from 7 to 10, do we have to uninstall 7?
No. No, Windows 10 takes care of everything for you. What Windows 10 will do is it gives you 30 days to undo it. After 30 days, it erases it on its own. It erases the previous operating system on its own. But you have 30 days to rewind. You shouldn't rewind. I mean, unless something's crashed, just because you don't like it, you'll get used to it. It's just like Windows 7, you might not have liked it when it came out. People don't like change. But after about 2 weeks of working with it every day, you won't even think about it anymore. It's not a big deal. It's just like having somebody clean your house and you don't know where they put anything. It's a little frustrating, but then you'll get it figured out and everything will be fine. So, yeah.
After your episode with the police, did I see you on evening news one night?
Yeah, I was on Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 10, and Channel 12 to explain how I was terrorized by the police to make sure that I wasn't a terrorist. That's how they test. They terrorize you, and they go, okay, you're not a terrorist. They remove your safety and then tell you that you're safe. I'm a little bitter about it. It was very, very traumatic. Are we about out of time?
No.
Oh, okay. Good. Other questions?
Well, I have a flash drive.
Hold on a second. Let's get you a microphone.
I have a flash drive, and I had to have a password to get the stuff I put on. I can't remember. Are all flash drives like that?
Any flash drive can be configured with encryption software. SanDisk likes to include free encryption software with many of their higher-end flash drives. Like anything else, a password is nothing more than a digital key, the same kind of key you use to unlock your car, the same kind of key you use to unlock your house. If you lose the keys, you're not getting in. That's why you locked it, right? To keep people out. So generally speaking, if something is password encrypted, like a flash drive or a file, and you don't know what the password is, nobody can get it back. Yeah, well, that's why it was put on there. Now, there are certain flash drives that are expensive that actually have keypads on them, and you have to enter the code on the keypad for the access to the data. Those do exist. They're made by a company called Kangaroo. They spell guru, K-A-N-G-U-R-U, and they're expensive. You're not going to get that off a $5 flash drive, but you can always add software to do that. Software like BitLocker from Microsoft will do that, and then of course there's always other encryption software. But yeah, it's very important, if you use it, you remember your password, because it's very frustrating to know your data is right there, and you can't get it and nobody can help you. It's doing its job. It's doing exactly what you asked it to do. Let's see if we get a microphone here.
One last, I had something, you were talking about LastPass. I have LastPass also. And what I found out recently is that if you, the question, and it's free, part I'm using is free. I'm not paying that extra money. What they will tell you, if you send them an email, they will only take care of those people who paid before they get to your email. Your problem. So keep that in mind on that LastPass.
Say that again?
On LastPass, I have, I don't know, a number of websites online. I paid nothing for it, but if you have a question or a problem, when you email LastPass, they will tell you that they will take care of the other emails that you paid for. You follow after they take care of the ones that have the upper part of the LastPass?
Basically, anything you use for free, you should not expect to get any support at all. You shouldn't even be asking. You've got to ask yourself, who's paying these people to answer the phone or answer your email? Because it ain't me. So first of all, you shouldn't trust any answer you get for free. Secondly, it's an unrealistic sense of entitlement to think that you can take something for free and then ask a bunch of questions and take up their time. Now, you pay the money, now you can ask questions. You don't get any support with free Gmail, but if you pay money for Gmail, you'll get support. When the product is free, the product is you, right? They're usually monitoring what you're doing. They want to be able to sell your, what websites do you go to, for example, on LastPass? They might be saying, well, he's saving passwords to these shopping sites, and maybe we can sell or offer his information to these sites he visits to target advertising to you, and that's how they pay for it. So it's no different than Facebook. There's no support with Facebook. You can't, there's no option to buy in, unfortunately. So your option is you use it and accept the terms and conditions that there's no terms and conditions, or you don't use it. But yeah, don't, so my dad's wife, she had a problem with Candy Crush. And she got on the, she Googled, I'll show you what she did. And don't you guys ever do this. She Googled, right, go to Google, and she typed in Candy Crush support. Now Candy Crush is a free game. You guys know what Candy Crush is? You don't want to know, it's very, very addictive. And she typed in Candy Crush support, and she's looking for a phone number. So I'm going to scroll through here. Now, I'm probably looking at this a little different than you guys are. What I'm looking at isn't the words in blue, I'm looking at the words in green. I see this is coming from King.com. King.com is the name of the company that makes it, so that's a real site. This is also King.com, and this is a community.king.com. That means it's users helping users. That's one way to get free support, is somebody who's a user like you who offers information, but who knows if that's good information or not. If I keep scrolling down, this is all King.com, and so these are all authentic. When she did it, she got, let's do this, Candy Crush support phone number. Maybe that'll give it to us. Wow, I'm not seeing it at all. Well, this is an improvement. One of the things the scammers do is they work very hard on their search engine optimization. And they put a phone number up there that's not really Candy Crush. It's a call center in India looking to scam you. And you don't think it's a scam because you just looked it up online and you called the number, they didn't call you. But if you Google the telephone number, you would see it's also support for Norton and Gmail and Facebook, and it's covered. If you actually Google the phone number, you'll see it's not really Candy Crush support. It's the bank, it's every possible name they can think of, and it's all tied into that one number. I like to call that number and go, hi, who's this? And they go, who'd you call? I'm like, well, and then I make it up. I go, I think I called, and I mention one of the names, and they go, yeah, that's us. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say Candy Crush. He goes, no, we can help you with that too. I try and get them trapped, right? I need to find other things to do, I really do. But anyway, if you're a person who's really concerned about privacy, don't use Google. Do not use Google. It tracks everything you do, it records everything you do. Now you can get in there and you can erase that. Many of you may not be aware of this, but you can go to your Google homepage, and if you want to, you can go check your, where is it? I think you got to be signed in. Oh, here, down here, privacy. They hid that pretty well, right? Did you guys ever know that was down there? We click on privacy, and we can say, this is all of their sharing your information. It says here, so if you know where to look, the information is available to you. They explain how they share your information, who they share it with, and you can scroll down and there's a little link in here to tell Google to delete your information. But the minute you start using Google again, it just starts collecting again. So if you've been using Google for years, they probably have hundreds, if not thousands, of megabytes or gigabytes of data on you, which is probably harmless, but some people are very concerned about it. So instead of using Google, you can use a service called DuckDuckGo. Now, DuckDuckGo is a search engine that doesn't track you and it doesn't record anything. I don't know what their business model is, but I find their search results are identical to Google's. They're very good. So again, we'll type in Candy Crush phone support. And ideally, I'll see all of the same, I mistyped it, but we'll see all of the same things here from king.com. And it's not recording any of the searches. Some people don't care, and some people do. So, but yeah, hit that privacy button and look through those links, and you'll be able to find where you can erase, tell Google to erase what they have if you want to.
Can you totally delete a Facebook account?
Yes. Yes. So when you sign into Facebook, I can't do it here, I can't demonstrate it, but up in the right corner is your name or your picture, and there's a little arrow that points down, and you click on that, and I believe it's under privacy or settings, and all the way at the bottom it's delete my Facebook account, and there's a thing that says, you know, hey, this can't be undone, are you sure you want to do it? They take it very seriously, but it is there. Here's another thing you can do, and by the way, this is great for anything at all. If you want to fix a leaky faucet and you're not quite sure how to do it, or you want to change the air filter in your car because the dealer wants $50 and you can buy it on Amazon for $10, but you don't know how to do it, just go to YouTube. And there are tutorials on how to do anything you can possibly imagine and a bunch of stuff you never imagined. So if we want to know, for example, how to delete a Facebook account, look, I didn't even have to type the whole thing in. There are videos that walk you through the entire process. That's just a random video. So some videos are better than others. So there's many, many, many videos. You just scroll down. One of the things, if it's a good video, look at how many views it's got. We can look and see. This has 189,000 views, and it was uploaded 10 months ago. This has 5.2 million views, but it was updated 5 years ago, and chances are the process has changed. It's probably not the same anymore. So I would get the most recent video and click on that, and it's only, oh, it's an advertisement. The advertisements are how YouTube creators get paid. I make about 7 1,000ths of a penny per month per subscriber. Would you work for that much? I never said I was smart. Anyway, so any questions you have, I've got a remote control. I don't know how the batteries come out of it. Whatever question you have, doesn't even have to be technical. What's the best way to prevent an argument? How can I be happier? All of this is covered in YouTube. Philosophy, religion, TED Talks are amazing, where experts come on stage and they talk about some area of specialty that they're in. I can watch those all day, I love them. Podcasts and documentaries, interviews with fascinating people. This is very addictive. But on YouTube, be aware that it's a wonderful resource for learning. I had a bathroom, my tub, the cartridge in the, I'm going to find the words for this. On the device, you know, you pull to turn the water on and off, that thing? See, I'm a technical guy. I didn't know where the cartridge was or how it comes out because I'm not a plumber. But I did see, you know, who made it, and I just typed in bathroom tub, price Pfister, whatever it was. And there's a middle-aged housewife showing me how to do it. And I was like, she is on the ball. And I mean, she covered, like you just take this and you reach in here and you push that and the cartridge slides out. I went on Amazon, I bought the cartridge for $3. It arrived at my house 2 days later because I have Prime, right? And then I pushed it in and I locked it in and My wife says, when did you learn how to do that? And I go, yesterday. I fixed my air conditioner. You know how much money I saved by doing it myself? Thank you, YouTube. So, very valuable resource. Sewing machine doesn't work. Boom, YouTube. It doesn't have to be technical. I want to emphasize this to you. It doesn't have to be about computers. Anything. There's how-to videos. They're not all good. They're not all clear. But there's usually more than one, and so you can kind of pick through them. And if you find somebody you like, you hit that subscribe button, and anytime they release new content, it'll email you right away, so you can, you know, stay up to date with what that person's doing if it's something that interests you. Yes.
What is a flash drive?
What is a flash drive? What is it? So a flash drive is a portable storage drive. So back in the day, we used to use floppy disks. Do you remember floppy disks? And then we went to CDs and DVDs. And now we've got, yeah, sometimes it's got numerous names. It might have been called a thumb drive. Have you ever heard of thumb drive? Thumb drive, flash drive. What's great about these, unlike a CD or a DVD, it can't be scratched. Unlike a floppy disk, magnets don't. Remember they said keep magnets away from a computer? That was 20 years ago. That's because of floppy disks. We don't use those anymore. Or zip disks. Anybody remember those zip disks? That was all magnetic-based storage. So if you got a magnet too close to it, you'd erase it or corrupt it. Well, the same holds true with a VHS tape. Put a magnet across a VHS tape and then try and watch that movie. You distort all the magnetism that contains the data. Now with a flash drive or with solid state electronics, it's all being saved on chips. Therefore the magnets are no longer an issue. They're not indestructible, but they're pretty hard to destroy. They're more often lost than anything. And sometimes they just fail. They just stop working like a light bulb. They can work fine for a year, and then you plug it in one day and it's just dead. So don't rely on it for anything important, as long as you've got copies somewhere else, right? And they come in all different kinds of capacities now. That little flash drive can hold as much as, the biggest one I've seen is about a terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes, which is 10,000 megabytes, 100,000 megabytes. The math gets really complicated. And those get expensive, you know, the more storage you have. But it's wonderful technology. It's fast, it's reusable, it's very portable. You don't have to plug it into a separate power connector. And it's a great way to make copies of important things and to put it in your pocket and have it with you, or stick it in a drawer. Stick it in a safe deposit box. Absolutely. That's better than the cloud, right? Because now it's in the bank and it's safe. Except that data is often perishable. So let's say, for example, you got back from vacation, you have all these pictures. And so you update you go to your safe deposit box, you take your flash drive, you bring it home, you update it with all those pictures you took, you put it back. You have to decide how often you need to update that flash drive, because if you get lazy and go, it's a pain, I have to go to the bank and go to the safe deposit box. That's Murphy's Law right there. He's going to kick in, and you're going to lose everything. And you're going to be like, oh, I should have. I had a customer call me. It was a couple weeks before Christmas, and he said, I got infected with ransomware. So ransomware encrypts all of your pictures, your documents, and it says, you have 72 hours to pay us via Bitcoin this amount of money, or we're throwing away the key, and you'll never get it back. Now, if you have a backup, who cares? Who cares? It's a pain, but you just restore your backup and you're good to go. But if your backup drive was connected at the time, then it get encrypted too. Yeah. So backups are your insurance, and you can't have too many of them. So if you've got a backup on a flash drive and you've got a backup in the cloud, I mean, you're covered. It just depends how important your data is to you. So this customer called me, and I said, hey, no big deal, just restore from your backup. He goes, well, here's the thing. I bought the backup drive you recommended, and I used it. What's the problem? That was in April. So he goes, yeah, I know. I should have been using it. And I go, well, the cheapest answer is to pay the ransom at this point. He said, I don't have the money. I go, me fixing it's going to cost more than what they want for the ransom. And I won't be able to get your data back. It's gone. So I would just pay the ransom. Several police departments around the country have paid the ransom. You could just Google police pay ransom for data. This has happened about lost internet. This has happened about a dozen times around the United States. One chief of police was so ticked off that after they paid the ransom and they got the data back, he stopped the payment. And then they re-encrypted his files and tripled the cost of the ransom. And so he paid 3 times the price. And well, this is using cryptocurrencies. You may be familiar with one called Bitcoin. And Bitcoin allows for security and privacy. And thieves love security and privacy. So it's going to a Bitcoin address which is basically untraceable. You don't know who owns it or where it's going. So why doesn't the police department have a better IT department? You know, why isn't the police department making value? So every evidence, all the evidence for cases that were all in these computers, they didn't have a choice. They had to pay the ransom, but they did have a choice to get it done, to get their IT infrastructure correct. And they said, well, we're the government, we're not the latest and greatest, and we don't have the budget. But somehow they had the budget to pay the ransom, right? You can pay a little now, or you can pay a lot later. And, you know, what does it say when the chief of police gives up? When even the chief of police goes, nothing I can do. I have no choice but to pay the ransom. What do you think you and I can do if it happens to us? Right? If the chief of police can't do anything, so the best thing you can do is make a backup. Make copies of that important stuff. And then when stuff like that happens, it's really annoying, but you didn't really lose anything. You just recover from your backup and you're good to go.
Will your presentation be on YouTube?
Well, if it's working, yes, I will air it later today, as a matter of fact, yes. I like to put my presentations up there because there's some other computer clubs around the country that would like me to present, but they don't have the budget to fly me out, and I don't have the budget to fly me out. And I say, look, I could be there virtually. You can show my presentation to your club completely for free, throw it up on a projector, and I make a 7/1000th of a penny off of it, and your members have a video to watch. So that's why I do that, yes. And it'll be available indefinitely on YouTube.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we're good? All right, well.
This is just, you know, you said it all around the country, but we were too personal. Where we can ask questions personally that pertain to us, and that's just such a blessing. I just thank you so much for coming every year.
You know what, it's reciprocal. I started coming here, I think, 2004. I've been coming here every year since. You guys are not very far away from me. And there's always a good turnout. I love you guys, like a second home to me. And as I get older, you know, I'm like, that house looks pretty nice. So I've got business cards up here. Feel free to grab one. And of course, if you have any questions for me afterwards, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And thank you guys so much for coming out and seeing me. And I hope I was able to give you a little bit of information and make you laugh a little bit along the way. And thank you again.